Welcome to the HMO Property Show. By investors, for investors. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing. Whether you're a seasoned investor, a new landlord, or just curious about property investing, this is the podcast for you. Sponsored by the Co-Living Collective, your trusted partner in creating vibrant and sustainable shared living experiences. Visit us at colivingcollective.com.au to learn more.
Welcome back to the HMO Property Show. I'm your host, Neil Gibb, as always, and today I want to talk to you about the difference between room renting versus micro apartment renting. And the reason that I want to ask this is because people have been questioning the room rates that we get for our rooms. And to be fair, if I wasn't as involved as I am in this space, I would probably be questioning these room rates myself because they kind of look a little bit unrealistic from the outside, right? And we've had some people say, you know, this looks great, mate, but it looks too good to be true. And again, I appreciate where they're coming from then. The numbers do look incredible. And the fact that it's just a win-win-win situation is very, very rare that you find this in this world. And then when they look online and they come back to us and say, let's say we've done a property in Brabham, for instance. I'm going to say Brabham because that's something that we've handed over recently and it rented really well. So Brabham, for instance, we got rooms rented in that area for $375 to $395 a room. And if we go back, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, Brabham would probably be a fraction of the size that it is now because it's a relatively new suburb and there was no train line there and there was no shopping centre there. And, you know, we went there putting the product in that space just recently. So what there was is a lot of people with 4x2s and they were renting out spare rooms in them 4x2s. So sometimes when we say to somebody, if you bought this property and we built this property here for you, we would get this much per room for your room rates. And they go out on flatmates.com and they come back and they give us this picture of this dark, dingy room where it's got like a bed that's half made, the cushions are all over the place, it's got no ensuite, or it might have an ensuite, but it definitely doesn't have a kitchenette, it doesn't have a fridge, it doesn't have the kettle, the toaster, the microwave, etc. So you're not really comparing apples with apples, and they're saying, well, this is only on the market for $275 or $300, so how are you getting the money that you're getting? And the difference is in what we offer as a business. Yes, the standard of the property that we bring to the market is high, and we will remain to keep it that high because the competition that you're competing against is these people with spare rooms, and there's, you know, there'll be a few other operators that are coming into this space or have already came into this space. We haven't really noticed anything that we're concerned about in terms of competition because, again, the product that we bring to the market is totally different. And if you're an investor that's got a heart and you really want to be proud of the things that you bring into the market and then making money as well, then maybe we're the right fit for you. Maybe we're not. Who knows? I appreciate that not everyone will like what we do. There'll be people out there that might not even like me, and that's totally fine. I can handle that. But going back to the rooms versus micro apartments, we really need to be sharing or comparing apples with apples when it comes to like comparing things, right? If you're saying, well, this only rents out for $275, but it's totally different. It's like saying you can buy a Ford Falcon or you can buy a Ferrari, right? They're two totally different things, two totally different price points. At the end of the day, they've both got 4 wheels and an engine, and they get you from A to B. Just one's totally different to the other. That's why the price point is a lot higher. So if we think back to the early days of our HMO journey, well, back in 2014, 2015, the first property myself and Joe did, it was our principal place of residence. We converted that into a HMO. And to be fair, when we did that, we had the games room or the theatre room, which we left as the theatre room to start with. And we literally just rented out the main bedroom with the ensuite attached to it. And we rented out the 3 smaller bedrooms. And that alone got us $dollars a week for that property in a suburb where there was 3 other properties on the market for around $400 to $450 per week, and the vacancy rate in Perth was 7%. So, and all they had in them was a bed, bedside tables, lamps, etc., sliding wardrobes. The master bedroom obviously had the ensuite in there with a walk-through wardrobe and all that type of stuff. And at the time, that's all we could really compare it to because no one else was really doing what we were doing, and we basically had to constantly evolve and innovate every time that we finished a product. Every time we finished a HMO and handed it over, we'd always say, what could we do differently? How could we do this better? And that's really evolved us from renting rooms out to creating micro apartments in new build construction. And because of that, it's also seen as transition away from buying established houses and converting them into building bespoke, custom built, custom designed HMOs for ourselves and our clients. And I think that's the important thing as well, the fact that we still invest in this product ourselves every single year. And we'll continue to keep investing in it because I honestly don't believe there's a better investment opportunity in the market right now. And especially in the areas that we're doing them in as well. If we talk about like the fringe suburbs or the groups that do volume, but they do volume in the same areas. So they might buy 5 or 10 blocks in the same suburb and just put the same product there because all they want to do is get in and get out and move on, get their commission, move on to the next boom location. And that's basically what's happened in Perth now. We're seeing a lot of the investment groups have already left Perth, which is good because it takes a little bit of heat out of the market. However, there's still enough heat in the market for the demand to be there, the market to move in the right direction. The fundamentals are just still heavily weighted from supply and demand. But then that also means that it gives you, the investor, an opportunity to be investing in good suburbs again, because now all these other groups have gone, you're only really competing currently with the owner-occupiers. But that's a good thing, right? Because the owner-occupiers are going to continue to push pricing up because they've already got 4 more. They've already missed out on 2, 3, 4, 5 houses. They're going in now and they're going in high. They've now got increased serviceability because interest rates have come back down. The market's definitely cooling off in Perth, but it's definitely not gone cold. It's just not as red hot as it was previously. And if it was going to remain red hot, the situation would get a lot worse, and it's still going to get worse before it gets better, guys. So please don't let me talk you out of potentially investing in Perth, because I still think it's got a long way to go, and I'm still investing in Perth myself now. And we're investing in Melbourne as well, right? But rooms versus micro apartments. When you're buying an established property, the reason that it's very hard to create the micro apartments in the rooms is because you're fighting against the existing floor plan to make it work. And what I mean by that is if you have a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom property with a games room and a theatre room, then that property itself is probably going to be about 200 to 250 square metres in floor area, which is more than enough to make a 6-bedroom, 6-bathroom house. However, to do that, to buy that property now, and then spend the amount of money you need to take it from a 4x2 to a 6x6, means you'd be demolishing walls, you'd be running new sewers in everywhere for toilets and en-suites and stuff like that, and the cost would add up big time. The benefit of doing this a new build is you can get everything included from the builder, take that to the bank, and you can get 80% from the bank. You put 20% in, and then you're off to the races. Builder builds it. There's no more work for you to do at the back end apart from a furniture pack, and then you've created 6 micro apartments that then rent out for a much higher premium than the rooms in that same suburb. And the other thing about it is as well is in an established property, when you're converting them rooms, you're still going to have 3 smaller rooms sharing a bathroom, which isn't a bad thing because it does offer a lower price point in that suburb. And then you're going to have 2 or 3 other bedrooms that have got en-suites, and them en-suited rooms would obviously rent out for a premium compared to the non-en-suited rooms, so the 3 smaller bedrooms. And then if you look at the micro apartment, again, it's like the master bedroom with the ensuite on steroids, because it's got the kitchenette, it's got the fridge, the kettle, the toaster, the sofas, the TVs, everything in there. I mean, if you haven't seen any of the stuff that we've produced, if you just recently found the podcast, firstly, welcome. If you want to go back to the first 5 episodes, there's some really juicy information in there about how I started the journey. We speak to some of the professionals that we work with in them early episodes too. I can't remember where I was going with that there. So if you haven't seen any of the properties that we've done previously, go onto our social media channels or go onto our YouTube channel, and you will see some of the home opens that we've done just recently in Bayswater, and you'll see why we get the premiums that we did get for them. So them rooms have been rented now for $425 to $450 a week in Bayswater currently. I think we've rented out 5 or 6 from the 2 houses, and then one of the other houses has got a head lease attached to it now at $350 a room for 2 years with no vacancies on it. So lots of opportunities in that space. And the reason that they want to pay that much money for a head lease is, again, because we've got micro apartments. If it was just a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, then that head lease would be a lot lower, and it probably wouldn't be cash flow positive either. So yeah, you're fighting against some existing layouts. The new build is just a much better blank canvas. If you've got a funky style block, anything like that, we've actually just helped a lady with one in North Perth, like a triangle shaped block, and she picked it up because she knew that she could pick it up cheap, and it's in a great area, and by the time she built what she wanted to build on there, then it'd be a good equity uplift because of the block being so cheap. And we've ended up getting a 3-bedroom HMO on there for her. Now, the rooms in that property are small and they will only be rooms, not micro apartments. However, the location and the finishes to the property will definitely get her a premium compared to an established conversion. So there's probably an extra layer in there again, isn't there, when you think about the rooms with the shared bathroom, the master bedroom with the ensuite and a conversion property, and then you've got a new build with just rooms, and then you've got your new build with your micro apartments in there. So there's essentially 4 stages or 4 levels of room that you can create and rent out in this space. And in the early days, we probably did about 70 to 80, maybe 90. I haven't got the exact figure. I should probably pull that out because it'd be a good stat to have. But we've probably done just shy of 100 conversions, let's say between like 70 and 100. I haven't got the exact number. And they were properties that we purchased, either for ourselves or for our clients, and we convert them into HMOs. We put furniture packs in them, and we'd rent them out for 2 or 3 times what they would rent for in the normal rental market, which means that the properties are cash flow positive in areas that investors want to be in, more importantly in areas that people want to live in as well, because you can bring the best house to the market in the world, but if it's the wrong product for the market, then it's not going to work. And what we've did over the years is we've housed probably over 2,000 people now. We've got just over 800 and something rooms brought to the market. And let's say everybody's at least moved in and out of them houses once. That means we've probably housed, close to 2,000 people. Again, I haven't got an exact number on it. But over that time, we've collected some really, really good data. And when we first got into this journey, I sat down with an entrepreneur from the UK. He owns some care homes in the UK, and he came over and he said to me, the data is the key for you taking this to the next stage. And at the time, I didn't really understand what he was saying, but then he was like, capture this data, and then you can really trying to fine tune what these people want, because we just brought to the market what we believed was what we wanted or what the people wanted. But then when we started sending these surveys out to our tenants and getting some feedback from them, that's when we really started to get some traction. And it was the small tweaks like the things in the bedrooms that we do, the layout of the bedrooms, the common areas that everybody says that you shouldn't have. Yeah, we always leave them in. And our properties rent out for the highest room rates in Perth because of the way that we design and rent these properties out. And then you obviously had COVID kick in as well. Everyone was at home. More remote work started going through the roof, and people needed quiet private spaces. So rooms without ensuite or rooms without a desk in them just weren't cutting anymore. And again, this was just at the stage. We've probably only done about 5 or 6 new builds at this time. And that's when we start to see a big shift of people really paying a premium for the ensuite rooms or for the micro apartment rooms. And then we just really took a pivot. I don't really like the word pivot. Just means you fucked up and you moved. So we essentially went from established conversions to new builds, and the new builds are just being rented out for really, really, really good money for our investors. So what we realised that is people didn't just want a room, they wanted more of a homely feel, so that they had everything in that room themselves, like we provide right now, compared to just renting a room with with a bed in it and a couple of bedside tables. And I've seen people on flatmates.com trying to do exactly this, and I've seen some people have actually converted established properties into HMOs, converted the living space into a bedroom as well, and literally just left them with like a kitchen and a tiny little living space, more like a dining space, because it's only got a kitchen with a dining table in it, no sofa or anything like that. And then trying to rent a room out with no ensuite for an absolute premium. And I don't know if they dropped it, I don't know if they were testing the market, I don't know a great deal about what happened to it in the end, but I just looked at it and thought, why would anyone pay that price to live in a room with just a bed in it and 2 bedside tables and a TV on the wall and nothing really else, and not even a common space? Because if you're creating that small, under-equipped room for somebody, and they're at work all day and they're coming home and they've only got that small bedroom to be in because there's no common space to get out there and socialise with people, then the turnover in that property is going to be quite high, because people will just use it as a stepping stone. But we want to be creating and bringing to the market places that people are proud to call home and people actually want to live. It's like a premium core living model, like a gold standard of housing. You think about it, that's basically what you want to be doing, right? Because people are going to pay the best money for that. And you as the investor can stand there with your hand on your heart and say, I'm very, very proud of the product that I bring to the market. I'm very, very proud of my investments. And I'm more proud about the fact that I'm actually helping people whilst I'm making money at the same time as well. And with the new builds, again, we've got the shared common areas. You're building that community as well. And core living means you are cohabiting, living together. But if you're just locked in your bedrooms, you're not really co-living, are you? You're just locked in your bedrooms with no common space. And the whole idea is to build community. So create the micro apartment to give them the option that if they want to be private and stay in their room, that they can stay in their room, but also give them that common space as well. So if they do want to get out, if they're having a bad day and they want to get out and they want to connect and they want to chat with people and they want to have a wine, like give them that option as well. We talked to one of my property managers the other day, and I really need to get more of these stories from them, because we've got these 3 older ladies living in a property, and when you think about this, just the target market itself of them people, the older female who, not all the time, but the majority of time have took time away from work, they've raised a family, they've worked hard, they're incredibly house proud, very hard working, big hearts, and like these people are now renting spaces from us, and they're basically the best tenants because they treat these houses like they're their own, but they also become the mum of the house as well. So we found out the other day that these 3 older ladies in one of the houses are all sitting around having glasses of wine, reading with each other, knitting with each other. The garden is immaculate because they're all out there on the weekend doing the gardening and stuff like that. So it's super, super important that we create these common spaces that everybody on the on the East Coast says that we keep needing to bring them out. We actually went over to Melbourne the other week and we said, why is there no common areas in these houses? And they said, because that's where all the fights and all the arguments start. And to me, it just sounds like poor management. If your sole focus is just on filling rooms, yes, you're going to get the wrong people in there. But if your focus is on building a community so that you get long-term quality tenants in place, then you're not going to get them arguments in there. And maybe people that are arguing because there's nowhere for them to sit out there and actually get to know each other. They're just passing each other in a hallway and going, I don't like the look of him, I'm going to have a bit of an argument with them, or blah, blah, blah. But if they get out and have a beer with them, or even just a chill in their common space, then these problems might not even pop up. Really torn on the no common space in the Melbourne thing. And I think we're looking at some designs now where we're going to try and create more common space in Melbourne and see if we can get a different sort of feel or outcome for the people that live there as well. So yeah, you get the right people, they pay more money, they stay for longer, they've probably got better jobs as well, because they're looking at what is in that room and thinking, that's 350, 400 bucks a week for a little apartment. The bus stop just around the corner, or work's literally 5 minutes away. It's fantastic. I want to be in there. And then people always ask me about like who buys these things, Neil. If I ever want to sell them, who would buy them? And like, we've got hundreds of clients in the business now. Hundreds. And if any of them did want to sell, and we've only sold 5 or 6, I say we've only sold, our investors have only sold 5 or 6 of these things in the 10, almost 11 years that I've been investing in this now, because no one wants to sell because there's nothing else to put your money into. So it's just sat there churning cash flow out. But if in the event that you did want to sell one of these things, then we've got a database of about 10,000 investors now that have all reached out and at some stage expressed interest in investing in a co-living HMO. The fastest one we've sold or helped our investors sell, something like 25 minutes. We sent the newsletter out, someone rang up, said, I'll take it. We said, okay, put a deposit in the bank account and we'll take it offline. The deposit was in the bank account straight away using Osco and cleared in the bank account. We're like, right on, that's interesting. Then you've also got self-managed super funds. They are looking for cash flow producing assets that are set up and built, because unless you've got the cash inside your super to build one of these things, then you need to go through the 1-part contract process, which we've done podcasts on. And so yeah, self-managed super funds, if you want to ever sell your property, there's a good chance that a self-managed super fund would buy it. The lending in the self-managed super fund space currently is relatively straightforward, believe it or not, especially for a new build product or a HMO product that's rented out with tenants in it. So there you go. That's kind of what I've got on micro apartments versus rooms. Hope that makes sense. If you've been following us for a while, you probably think, yeah, Neil, I've heard you say all this before, but I just thought it was probably time to have a little bit of a chat about it, just to help people that don't understand the difference between them understand the difference between them. So hope that helps, guys. Join us again next week for the HMO Property Show.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in the same time next week so you can stay up to date with all cash flow positive property updates.